99% don't know which chosen one type they truly are. You've felt it before. That subtle, almost untraceable feeling that you were meant for something more. Not in an egoic way, not in the way society tells you to chase greatness, but in a way that feels older than this lifetime, deeper than the body. You've walked through life like a question mark with skin, never quite fitting in, never quite understanding why the noise of the world grates on your soul. You felt both alien and ancient. And even though you can laugh and blend and wear the masks like everyone else, there's always been a whisper under your skin that says, you're different. You're not here to follow. You're not here to blend. You're here to remember. And yet, if you're like most people who've been chosen by the frequency of awakening, chosen by the timeline of now, and chosen by your own soul, before you even took this form, you're probably still unsure what kind of chosen one you are. That's the part no one tells us. That not all chosen ones are the same. That there are different soul archetypes with different missions, different gifts, different initiations. And unless you know which one you are, you may spend your whole life chasing the wrong path, comparing yourself to others, or doubting your purpose entirely.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
This is why 99% don't truly understand what it means to be chosen. Because the calling comes softly at first. It doesn't yell. It doesn't command, it invites. And if your nervous system has been conditioned by trauma, distraction, noise, and survival, you may miss the invitation entirely. Or worse, you may accept it but misinterpret it. You may think being chosen means you're supposed to save others, or become a teacher, or become famous, or be perfect. But the truth is much deeper than that. The truth is there are types of chosen ones, and each one carries a unique frequency, a specific code, a distinct assignment. And when you know which one you are, you stop trying to be everything and start becoming exactly what you were designed to be. So let me ask you something real. What if your confusion about your path isn't a failure, but a signal that it's time to get specific? What if the reason you felt resistance, burnout, or disconnection is because you've been trying to walk a path that belongs to someone else's frequency? What if you're not lost, you're just undifferentiated? That's what we're here to change right now. Because when you know what kind of chosen one you are, you don't just get clarity, you get activation. You get resonance. You get access to the part of your soul that's been waiting to be called by its real name. There are many types of chosen ones, but the four primary archetypes most commonly incarnating on this timeline are the flame holders, the grid walkers, the code bringers, and the shadow anchors. These are not roles, they are frequencies. You don't choose them. They are you. And when you align with your frequency, your life starts making sense in ways that logic never could explain. The flame holders are the ones who carry the fire. These are the disruptors, the ones who walk into a room and shift the energy just by being there. They are the spiritual warriors, the truth speakers, the ones who carry the frequency of awakening through confrontation. If you've always felt like you couldn't stay silent when something false was being spoken, if you've been called intense, too much, or intimidating, this may be your frequency. Flame holders are not here to be liked. They are here to light the match that burns down illusion. Their lives are often marked by early betrayal, loss, or energetic violence, not because they deserved it, but because their fire had to be forged in pain. Flame holders don't start fires, they are the fire. And their power lies not in control, but in embodied truth. Then there are the grid walkers. These are the ones who walk between worlds. They are the bridges, the ones who can be in the 3D and yet fully tapped into the 5D and beyond. They often feel like they don't belong anywhere and yet everywhere at once. They walk through cities and feel the energy of the land. They enter a room and can feel the unspoken history in the walls. They are the ones who can hold immense energetic space, often without even speaking. Grid walkers are usually empaths, intuitives, and sensitives who have had to learn how to survive in a world that doesn't understand energetic boundaries. Their power doesn't lie in being seen, it lies in what they see. They anchor frequencies into places, people, and timelines without ever needing to explain it. They are the invisible architects of the new earth. Then we have the code bringers. These are the ones who carry the ancient, galactic, or divine codes in their DNA. They are visionaries, artists, inventors, and messengers. They come to Earth with information encoded in their soul, and their job is to translate the infinite into the tangible. Code bringers often feel frustrated in traditional systems. School, jobs, religion, they never quite make sense to them because they're not here to follow existing structures. They're here to build new ones. Their challenge is often expression, learning how to articulate what they feel, what they know, what they carry. But when they do, their voice becomes a frequency activator. They don't just speak, they reveal. They don't just create, they transmit. Every word, every piece of art, every invention, every idea, they carry codes that shift consciousness. And finally, we have the shadow anchors. These are the ones who carry the deepest density. The ones who incarnate into the heaviest bloodlines, the darkest families, the most painful trauma patterns. Not because they are cursed, but because they are alchemists. Shadow anchors are the ones who transmute ancestral pain, karmic loops, and collective trauma through embodiment. They are the ones who feel like they've been carrying pain that isn't even theirs because it isn't. It's the pain of generations. Shadow anchors often feel broken, lost, or even invisible. But their invisibility is not a punishment. It's a protection. Because when they finally awaken to their power, they become living portals of transmutation. They don't just heal themselves, they heal everything connected to them. Now, maybe as I described these, something in you began to respond. Your heart began to beat faster. Your body leaned in. Your soul whispered, "Yes, that's me." Or maybe you saw parts of yourself in more than one. That's okay. We are multidimensional. But one frequency is usually dominant. And when you own it, when you stop trying to be all things and start becoming the one thing you were built to be, that's when your life begins to activate itself. That's when synchronicity becomes your language. That's when clarity becomes natural. That's when your presence begins to bend reality. But here's the trap most chosen ones fall into: comparison. You see a flame holder on fire and think, "Why can't I speak like that?" You see a code bringer manifesting visions and think, "Why can't I create like that?" You see a grid walker holding peace and think, "Why can't I feel that stillness?" And every time you compare, you abandon your own frequency. You exit your mission. You dilute your power. Because you weren't meant to copy, you were meant to emit. Your frequency isn't supposed to look like anyone else's. It's supposed to be unmistakably yours. So let me ask you something, and I want you to answer from your soul, not your mind. What frequency have you been hiding, suppressing, or distorting because it didn't look like what the world told you power should be? Have you been pretending to be light when you are really shadow? Have you been trying to be silent when your voice is fire? Have you been trying to be relatable when your frequency is cosmic? Have you been trying to explain yourself when your energy is meant to be unexplainable? This is your call to remember, not just that you're chosen, but what kind of chosen you are. Because when you remember that, your entire nervous system shifts. You stop chasing, you stop doubting, you stop performing, and you start resonating. You start owning the vibration you were born to carry. And when you do, you don't just awaken yourself. You become the signal that awakens others, not by teaching, not by convincing, but simply by being. The sacred signature, activating the unique power hidden inside your chosen one frequency. There comes a moment in the journey of every chosen one where the search must come to an end, not because the answers have been fully found, but because the soul finally remembers that it was never lost. That the searching was never about discovering something new, but about peeling away the noise, unlearning the programming, and reclaiming the sacred signature that was always encoded within you. You were never empty. You were never missing anything. You were never broken. You were simply buried beneath the weight of expectations, the trauma of forgetting, and the exhaustion of trying to fit into a world that was never built for the frequency you carry. This is what changes everything, when you stop trying to add more to yourself and instead begin the sacred work of revealing yourself. Because that's what your power truly is. It's not an external force, it's a revealed essence. It's the part of you that remains when every identity, every role, every performance, every mask has been stripped away. It's the part of you that cannot be replicated, cannot be taught, and cannot be sold. It is yours alone. And it is the reason you were chosen. You see, many people speak of awakening as if it were a destination. But for the chosen ones, awakening is more like a remembering of origin. It's a return to the frequency you agreed to carry before you incarnated into this body, on this earth, in this timeline. That frequency is not random. It is precise. It is surgical. It is strategic. Your soul was not thrown into this world haphazardly. You were placed, like a seed planted in exact soil, under a moonlit sky, timed with cosmic resonance to bloom at the exact moment the collective would need your frequency the most. And that time is now. But here's the secret most never realize. Your frequency cannot activate fully until you stop resisting the parts of yourself that don't fit into the world's expectations. That's the paradox. The more you try to be normal, the more you deactivate yourself. The more you try to be understood, the more you dilute your transmission. The more you try to be liked, the more you forget that you were never here to be liked. You were here to be felt. You were here to be unmistakable. And the only way to do that is to stop seeking alignment with the world and start aligning with your sacred signature. So what does that mean practically? It means you must begin to trust your own design more than the voices of the external world. It means listening to your strange inner urges, the ones that don't make logical sense, but feel like magnetic poles from the center of your being. It means allowing your creativity to express in ways that others may not understand. It means honoring your cycles of solitude, your sensitivities, your intuition not as weaknesses, but as sacred technologies. It means owning the parts of yourself you've been hiding, the parts that felt too much, too weird, too intense, too different, and realizing that those very parts are where your power has been waiting to emerge from. Every chosen one has a frequency pattern, a unique energetic blueprint that, when activated, becomes a living transmission. That transmission doesn't require you to speak. It doesn't require you to teach. It doesn't even require you to be seen. It only requires you to be real, to be aligned, or to be embodied. Because when you live from your sacred signature, your very presence becomes medicine. Your energy becomes a signal to the field. You begin to reorganize the reality around you. You begin to magnetize experiences that match your truth. You begin to see how life itself responds to your authenticity. But this is where most chosen ones get stuck. They try to activate their frequency while still holding on to the masks. They try to embody their power while still hiding their pain. They try to speak their truth while still seeking validation. And every time they do, they short-circuit the very energy they're trying to emit. Because you cannot transmit a frequency you don't fully trust. And you cannot trust a frequency you haven't fully embodied. So let me ask you something only your soul can answer. What parts of your frequency are you still ashamed of? What gifts are you still hiding because they don't look like what you were told power should look like? Where are you still trying to fit into a template that was never made for you? What if the very thing you're avoiding is the exact portal to your full activation? You see, the sacred signature isn't just about your gifts. It's about your wounds. It's about the way your soul chose to experience pain not as punishment, but as precision. Because every wound you carry is a doorway to deeper embodiment. Every trauma you've survived has encoded your nervous system with a unique access point to wisdom. And when you stop trying to override those wounds and instead listen to them, honor them, alchemize them, you begin to unlock the higher octaves of your frequency. You begin to realize that your pain was not a detour. It was the pathway. It was the initiation. It was the refinement of your sacred signature. That's why no one else can do what you came here to do. Because no one else has your exact frequency. No one else has lived your exact story. No one else has walked through your specific fire. And it's that fire, that sacred burning away of all illusion, that makes your frequency undeniable. When you speak from that place, people don't just hear you, they remember something they forgot they were. That's why you're here. Not to be the loudest voice, but to be the clearest mirror. A mirror that reflects not the surface, but the soul. And when you live from that place, when your frequency is activated and your sacred signature is revealed, something miraculous begins to happen. You stop chasing purpose, and purpose becomes something you emit. You stop seeking your tribe, and your tribe begins to resonate with your signal. You stop trying to be seen, and instead you become unignorable. Not in an egoic way, but in an energetic way. Because when you walk in alignment with your frequency, you carry a kind of spiritual gravity. You become a field generator. You become a timeline stabilizer. You become living proof that truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to resonate. But let me be honest with you, this path is not for the faint of heart. To activate your sacred signature, you must be willing to lose everything that isn't real. You must be willing to let identities collapse. You must be willing to be misunderstood. You must be willing to walk away from comfort. Because comfort is the enemy of activation. And if you want to live fully aligned, you must be willing to disrupt everything you built from misalignment. This is the initiation of the chosen. Not a ceremony, not a blessing, but a burning, a sacred unraveling, a surrender to the deepest parts of yourself, the parts that were never touched by trauma, never distorted by conditioning, never infected by fear. Those parts are still there, waiting, watching, ready to lead. But they will not rise until you make space for them. And that means letting go. Letting go of who you thought you had to be. Letting go of who the world told you to become. Letting go of every version of you that was built to survive so you can finally start to live. So I ask you, with all the love and fire in my being, are you ready to remember what you are? Not as a concept, not as a label, but as a frequency. A living, breathing, vibrating essence that was chosen to be here, now, on this earth, in this timeline, for this exact moment in history. Are you ready to stop performing and start transmitting? Are you ready to stop hiding and start embodying? Are you ready to stop seeking and start resonating? Because the world doesn't need more information. It needs activated frequencies. It needs chosen ones who know exactly what they carry and are no longer afraid to become it. The world needs you, not the version of you you've been taught to perform. The real you. The ancient you. The cosmic you. The sacred signature that only you can emit. And once you activate that, everything changes.